Hello good people from the VC Big Star 1000 with the weekly installment of Revolutions. Hope everyone's well. Still in lockdown. 15 weeks I think, nearly. And yesterday we had 2 cases. If that gives you a bit of perspective. I have a cross-section of all sorts of genres, from indie to post-punk to electronic music to some jazz and back again. So I hope you enjoy this installment. These are the records that I've played this week. If you're new to Revolutions, this is just me showing you what I've been enjoying. I'll start with a classic. David Bowie with Diamond Dogs from 1974 on RCA. Must say it's an album that I don't visit very often. It's not in my personal top Bowie albums, so I tend to not play it too often. But it's got a killer lineup with Ainsley Dunbar on drums and Herbie Flowers on bass. It has Diamond Dogs and Rebel Rebel and amongst other great tunes. Should play it more often. It's a good Bowie record. It's just not my kind of Bowie. It's a bit too glammy for me. I'm more sort of a Berlin trilogy type of guy, but or a station to station type of guy. Although Hunky Dory is probably my favorite Bowie, but it's just on the edge of glam. Okay, well, since I'm talking about genius singer-songwriter, I also did revisit Arthur Russell's latest re-release, I Owe a Dream, which is basically the inside, the gatefold is quite nice, actually, which is basically lost sessions of Arthur Russell doing kind of folk rock tunes, but in his own obviously idiosyncratic manner, which is not what you'd expect from a folk record. Obviously, it's folk with a twist, and I highly recommend that you take a listen to this. It's a really cool rediscovery. I got this at Christmas last year, and I got it on CD because I just couldn't justify the price tag on the vinyl, and I'm glad I did, because I don't play that often to justify the price tag, but it's lovely. And I've got a couple more CDs whilst I'm here. I revisited Depression Cherry by Beach House, one of my favorite bands. My favorite record of the past decade was Teen Dream, in the top 30 that I made, and Depression Cherry is not far off that. It's their 6th record. Comes with this entire felt cover in the style of Odessa by the Bee Gees, and it has the magical space song on this. The duo from Baltimore, Alex Scully and Victoria Legrand. And most people, when they first hear Beach House, they think it's a man singing. Even when I saw them live years and years ago, I was still stunned to see that a woman was singing. It's just, it's almost, it's so strange. And another one that I've been playing quite a bit recently is The King of Limbs by Radiohead. And this is one of my least played Radiohead records, but it's still a great record. Just because it's Radiohead, it's marked as not a very good album. But if another band, hypothetically had released this, would say, oh, it's great. But for Radiohead standard, it's not that good. Bloom is great. Feral and Lotus Flower, they're great songs. I highly recommend, if you have this and you've sort of skimmed over it because of, it's not OK Computer, it's not Kid A, it's not In Rainbows, and therefore, maybe it's not worth listening. It is really worth listening to. Here is a slight electronic music segment that I'm going to launch into. Started with Nicholas Jar. Nicholas Jar is a New York City-based Chilean electronic musician. I've talked about him many times on this channel. And this is his, I think, first or second solo record under his own name. He records under the name Dark Side and Against All Logic as well. But this is a fantastic collection of electronic sketches. It's so melodic, so catchy. It just comes out of nowhere. All the melodies, leave an imprint on your brain when you hear this. It's got a little bit of glitchy ambient sounds, but generally speaking, it's what would you call it? An ambient electronic record, but quite melodic at the same time. Came out in 2012, I think, or 13. Space is Only Noise. I highly recommend this record. Whoever you are, even if you don't like electronic music, I think you would like this. Another highly recommended, they're all highly recommended, electronic music record. This is an ambient ethereal record by a band called the Slow Dancing Collective, the Slow Dancing Society, and it's called the Disappearing Collective Volume 1. Now this guy here, his name is, what's his name? Drew Sullivan. Drew Sullivan is his name. He records under the name the Slow Dancing Society, and he's made many records. I think this is his 20th record or something. There's so many of them, and I kind of blind bought this on on a recommendation of a website. I was buying some records, and this was record of the week or something or other. I just like the concept. I didn't even listen to it when I bought it. I thought, well, if it's good enough for them to recommend this, I'll just get a copy, and I've loved it. It came out in 2000 and it came out this year, I think, 2020 or last year, maybe, perhaps, I can't remember. I got it this year, it is like a crossover between say a Brian Eno and a Vangelis record. That's the best I can give you. It really is kind of like the Blade Runner soundtrack mixed with the music for airports, and where you get a sort of like a approaching sound. I highly recommend this record. It's beautiful. I don't know much about him. He's from Washington State, I think, from memory. Drew Sullivan, and he just records under that name. Couple of ambient electronic, ambient techno records. The Fabulous Boards of Canada from Scotland, the duo who redefined the use of synths in the 2000s, really, or late 90s, 2000s. This is their third, I think, full-length record, the Campfire Head Phase, with the mighty Dave Cowboy. If you haven't seen the video of that, I suggest you pause this video and you go on YouTube and you Google Dave Cowboy, which is the first song on side B, and you watch the video. It's just fantastic. It's I'm not going to say anything. Just watch the video. This is probably the most overlooked record in their discography, because before that you've got Music Has the Right to Children, which is a masterpiece, probably one of the best IDM records ever made. And then you've got Joe Gaddy, which is also a masterpiece. And then this comes and you just go, yeah, it's a bit like what I was saying about Radiohead. You've got a computer, you've got Kid A, and then you just think, how can it be better? But this is not better, but it's still a very consistent, beautiful sound, ambient and textural. As I said, lots of synths. You know, this band just continues to impress. Even the last record, the one that they put out a few years ago, like 2014 maybe, it was really good too. I mean, here is an ambient techno which I have been loving recently. It's Stasis. I don't know if you can read that. Stasis, S-T-A-S-I-S, with From the Old to the New, which is his third record, I think. And Stasis is a guy called Steve Picton. He's I think he's from London, or he's English anyway. And this is beautiful ambient techno. I mean, it's, if you like Aphex Twin and Boards of Canada, this would be right up your alley. I really love this record. I've been playing it to death recently. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's got some beautiful live drums as well, which is not common on techno records. Yeah, it's a double LP. I just love this. Just love this. I don't know. There are phases like this where I listen to a lot of electronic music, and a couple more electronic music records there. 3 AM Spares, very sparse sleeve. This is Australian electronic dance music from the 90s largely, compiled by two guys, Andrus and Instant Peterson, in 2018 on Efficient Space Records. So these two guys, they have access to the archives of 3RRR, which is one of our independent radio stations, and they just, you know, collect, you know, interesting underground electronic music. And this one is called 3 AM Spares because I mean, it's a reference to a movie called Midnight Spares, and the first installment was called Midnight Spares, so it's more sort of ambient electronic music. This one is more like club music, hence the name 3 AM Spares. And there's no big names on this. I mean, you know, like there's no point in me quoting any names. They're all Australian electronic musicians, but you know, you've got this 90s techno feel, you know, which, if you like that kind of a thing, again, you know, if I'm going to reference Aphex Twin or people like even some Detroit techno sounds you've got there, but you know, it's great. I mean, I don't know if you could find this outside of Australia easily. Here, I've had this, as I said, 2018. I've had this for a couple of years, but you can still find this. It's still there in the shops. This is not an electronic record per se. It's ambient, tribal ambient, but also electronic. This is an artist called Finnish Afrikai, and this is a last discovery, Essential Collection 84 to 2001, which came out sometime in 2013. Yeah. I remember buying this off a Sounds of the Universe recommendation. So this is a Japanese comp by this Spanish artist, Finnish Afrikai, and it's beautiful. It's mixing these sort of Brian Eno-esque sounds and Howard Budd sound with more sort of tribal kind of techno-y, electronic-y sounds, and the opener, Radio Tarifa, would give you a good idea what the overall sound of this. But for me, it is side C and D that really are the winners on this, and it goes into a more ambient electronic territory. I very highly recommend this. I don't play it often enough. Finnish Afrikai. It's really great as a record. Continuing, I've got some post-punk singles here that I've been spinning. I don't I don't really play 7 inches very often. I have probably, I mean, 2 large boxes like this worth of sevens. I don't seek them out or collect them in any, you know, for if I find something that that's kind of cool, or a single that I really want to have and I don't really need the whole album or something, I might buy that. Or sometimes it's a great picture sleeve to have and stuff. Case in point, this is the fantastic Ian Dury and the Blockheads, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, with its fantastic artwork. I mean, it is. I just love post-punk, punk and post-punk singles, because they really put such effort in designing the sleeves, and some of them are just truly beautiful. So Ian Dury, I mean, you're probably all familiar with Ian Dury from the musician from London. You know, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, one of his greatest songs, really bouncy and you know, sort of nonsensical at times. You know, really love that. Also from the UK, I revisited this fantastic Scottish post-punk band, the Fire Engines, Glasgow, I think. Big Gold Dream. You know, they're like I guess you could say they're like the Scottish Feelies, if you know the Feelies. Same sort of sound, or a little bit like the Gang of Four too. You know, it's got a bit of a Gang of Four-esque. And this is one, maybe the most famous single, Big Gold Dream from 1980. Oh, I don't know, 81 or something, 1981 perhaps. Here's an early 80s song that I love to death. Flock of Seagulls, I Ran. You know, I mean, it's a flock of seagulls, but this is such a great song. I mean, it's a great song from start, the opening riff, and I don't know, I mean, you know, it's one of the great songs from the 80s, so I like to play it once in a while. Some classic punk, US punk. You know, I mean, what to say about this? I mean, yeah. Obviously, I mean, you know, if you don't know about Holiday in Cambodia, if you're watching this channel and you've got, you know, I've never heard that song before, you need to do something about that right now. And also the amazing Too Drunk to Fuck on Cherry Red, on Cherry 24, Cherry Red Records, sorry, Cherry Red, obviously Cherry Red. And finally, the last one that I pulled out was this amazing, I mean, I've got this on both 7, and I've got the album that it comes from, Dillinger, with Cocaine in My Brain. You know, that's the way you spell New York. You know, that's his most famous song. But it's also so catchy. It's reggae, but with with a little bit of something extra. I don't know if it qualifies as reggae. You know, it's reggae and a little bit of disco and punk in there as well. Okay, I'll continue with something completely different. Here is a fantastic record by a French band called Ensemble Museum, which I think, being French, it's probably Ensemble Museum. But as I've never heard their name spoken in front of me, I don't know whether they rather say it's the French way or the English way, sounding way. But it says Moondog New Sound. I mean, it does what it says on the tin. Now, this is a guy called Amaury Cornu, and he's obsessed with Moondog, and with his ensemble, with guitars, violins, harmonium, drums, hurdy-gurdy, cello, and viola. He recreates the sound of these early Moondog records, and and the tunes are highly recognizable. It's not drifting away too far from, but it's beautiful. It's like a gamelan and ensemble playing Moondog, you know, almost you could say. I love this record, and I think it should be heard by more people. It was released by a disc Bongo Joe, which is a Swiss label, in 2017. So yes, it's the music of Louis Harden, aka Moondog, but reinvented, if you will. Really like that. James Bosbury sent me a package. I was saying last week. He sent me the Odyssey record, and he also put this record in the package. Mantis is the band. Turn On To Music. And in his note, James told me to play side 2 first, because he said side 1 is pretty average, which I kind of agree with. Side 1 is just like a soul funk kind of run of the mill kind of a record, but the side B turns this band more into Simande rather than anything else. That's the closest I can think of. The band, you know, gets into this like funk, soul funk, but with a distinct island vibe, you know, and lots of psych sounding guitars, and you know, it's kind of cool. It's cool. This band is from Samoa, which is a little island group of islands near New Zealand, and that's why probably James wanted to send this to me, because it's close to it's a sort of a New Zealand artifact, even though it's not from New Zealand per se. So thank you, James. I enjoyed this record, very cool. Speaking of funk, soul funk, I'm not really good this morning with describing things. I revisited Air. I don't know much about Air. Air was a folk funk band from New York, and this record is from 1971. It features the vocals of the beautiful Guji. There's nothing to be said about this. I don't know anything about them. They play this. This was produced by Herbie Mann from memory, and you know, it's folk funk or soul folk, if you like. You know, maybe. So you've got like a jazzy kind of backdrop, but it's folk with jazz in the background. You know, a bit like Terry Callier, if you like. If you want to take a point of comparison, or maybe someone like Minnie Riperton, you know, that's really the sound. But she sings beautifully. It's, you know, she has a Janis Joplin-esque kind of a voice. But yeah, I mean, Janis Joplin was a blues singer rather than, you know, and she's a folk singer. Yes, this was reissued by Be With Music a few years ago, which is why I've got, this is a reissue obviously, because I'm not good enough to get an original. I'm not, really not. I was talking about James, who sent me the Mantis record. I sent this to James a few weeks ago. Justine, and I really love this. I replayed it the other day just because I wanted to hear it again. She was a Sydney, Justine Bradley was her name. She was a Sydney singer in a jazz band, and you've got this great jazz funk band, Sam McNally on Rhodes, and Tony Buchanan on flutes, and like, this is kind of the who's who of that scene at the time, and this is like, yeah, it sounds like Sade, this record. I'm not kidding you. It's like a mix between like a jazz fusion record and a Sade record. What they've done on this reissue is that they've picked the 2 best songs on the album that she released in 1979, and they just released this like single, and they've done the right thing, because really, why would you want to buy an album where only 2 songs are good and the rest is just, you know, I mean, they've done the right thing. I'm drinking coffee. Okay, continuing. I've got a jazz segment for you here. I revisit this often because it's such a great record. Nat Birchall, the Storyteller. I think it's the best Nat Birchall you can buy for your money. I honestly think that it is just subtle, classy, elegant, and so inventive and catchy, and everything about this record is absolutely on point. So Nat Birchall is a Manchester jazz sax player, and on here he reinvents the music of Yusef Lateef, as well as composing tunes in the sound, in the manner of, or you'd say, a la Yusef Lateef, if you will. So there you've got it's a double LP on Jazzman Records. Sounds great. Every time I play this, I think to myself, why am I still buying new records? You know, why am I still buying new? Well, what's the point? You know, like you listen to this and just think, well, you know, you could play this over and over and over again and still be fully satisfied that it's, yeah. Another great jazz from the UK, another jazz record from the UK, Ashley Henry. And this is another one of these like jazz refreshed series. This is called 5 years, 5 songs. So Ashley Henry is totally obsessed with Thelonious Monk, a little bit of Herbie Hancock as well, but Monk is his hero. He even does a cover of Monk's Dream. But this is Monk with a little bit of like electronics mix in there, which makes it really interesting sounding. I really love this. I think this is great. This record, it's a trio, but it's got a little bit of electronics mix in there as well. Piano, bass, and drums. It's good. Take a listen. You know, listen to Monk's Dream. The track that I indicate is really great. One of the greatest albums to ever come out, Strut East. It's Charles Sullivan with Genesis. This is not the original pressing on Strut East. This is a second press on Naja in Japan. Naja Trio Records. Well, this is a fantastic song cycle about life and death. Features Dee Dee Bridgewater on vocals, and especially on the fantastic Now I'll Sleep, which is got the vocals of Dee Dee Bridgewater. Has Billy Hart on drums and Alphonse Mouzon on drums as well. Sonny Fortune on sax, Stanley Cowell on piano, and obviously Alex Blake on bass, but Charles Sullivan plays trumpet and flugelhorn. It's got some moody spiritual pieces, got some funky pieces on this. Kind of jazz funk, jazz fusion, but it's also a little bit Bill Evans at times, which is, it's super. Just before making this video, I was playing this. This is Keith Jarrett, Death and the Flower. Great lineup. Dewey Redman, Charlie Hayden, Paul Motion, and Guilherme Franco on percussion. Now this has got also a little bit of a spiritual vibe to it, especially with the flute and the woodblock percussion. It's very gentle, very... I got this for $1 in one of my thrift stores years ago, probably like 5 years ago or something. And every time I thought to myself, I just get it, it's Keith Jarrett. Every time I want to get rid of one Keith Jarrett record, I end up buying 2 new ones. I think Keith Jarrett is so excellent, exceptional musician that I've never brought myself to getting rid of any of his records. I love them all, and this is no exception. I think this is sublime, this record. It's just really, 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 you know, understated, beautiful music, and the combination of those musicians, you know, and the sounds that they offer is really worth keeping in the collection. From 1975. The first Weather Report record is amazing. Listen to it. It's very, very sparse. It's not a fusion record at all. It's more like In a Silent Way. by Miles Davis. That's the kind of sound you get there. I don't know why this is not shown more by, or like listened to more by people. I think it's one of their best records. It's, you know, and you've got Ensemble Museum, I was talking about him a second ago, Joe Zawinul, Miroslav Vitus, Wayne Shaw, and Airto Morera. What's Not to Love? Okay, this is, yeah, great record. And I'll finish off with this Australian fusion record, which is not very good. This is a rare record on Clear Light of Jupiter, Alpha Omega. Clear Light of Jupiter is a label that issued Cybertron here in Australia. So this is a rarity, obviously. I bought this many years ago, and on the strength of the label. And yes, it'd be hard to find this these days, but it doesn't mean it's good. It's just okay. It's got lots of interesting electronics by Steve Maxwell von Braun, the brains of Cybertron, basically. But as a fusion record, it's not memorable. It's not really. I mean, you know, if I had to part with some expensive records to make some room to get some money, this would most probably go, because it's just okay. But at the moment, I'm keeping it from 1975 or 6 or whatever, maybe 7. Yes, okay. I'm gonna stop here. I'm talking too much. Enjoy. If you do, you know, leave me some comments and talk to me. Just enjoy yourselves. Okay, love you all.